Well, my family came here, it was like 1953. I remember downtown.
When I was growing up here, we had every kind of thing you can imagine downtown. Everybody'd be hanging out on the street and talking and everything. They started building shopping centers all around the area. Then they built the Six Flags Mall. And so everybody was just kind of whoosh.
I will tell you, when I arrived in 1979, as opposed to her recollections, there was nothing that happened in downtown Arlington after 6 at night.
To me, simply put, downtown is the civic and ceremonial heart of the city. I know there's been a lot of people over many years going back into the 70s and 80s that have really studied this and thought about it and envisioned what this was going to be. People like Lana Wolf and Gene Patrick and Robert Shepard, those kind of folks were really pioneers in this area.
Like Tudor Clark, we lost that loving feeling, and so we wanted to get it started again. Atlanta really got it started to getting people to know where downtown was.
Yeah, and then Tom ran all the important stuff.
We started looking around what we could do, and we started building these plans, maybe 4 feet stack of plans that we'd done for downtown Arlington, and but nothing ever got done. We just finally put enough pressure on the city council and the mayor, and just to say we really need to do something with all these plans we've had.
As a city, we were the largest community in Texas for years without a real recognizable downtown. Well, Mayor Cluck had just started in office, and he was anxious and interested to move the city forward.
So one of the key elements, led by our then city manager, Jim Holgerson, came up with the concept of creating the Downtown Management Corporation. And the city collaborated with UT Arlington and put an initial board together.
You have to have a leader, a day-to-day staff leader, if we were going to have long-term success. And Maggie came to the forefront in the interview process.
I knew that I had to do something quickly. I had to do something that was highly visible, and I had to do something that would put a there, because there wasn't one. I remember sitting right across the street in the mayor's office, like my 3rd week of work, and he said, "Okay, lady, what's your big idea?" Mayor Cluck. And I had come from Pasadena, California, where I had been privileged enough to work on a Levitt pavilion there with the Mortimer Levitt Foundation, Elizabeth Levitt Hirsch. And so when the mayor said, you know, "What's your big idea?" I looked out the window and I said, "Well, Mayor, if you can build a park right there, I know this woman in California that'll give us $500,000 and we can have a band show and have 50 free concerts a year." He said, "I like it." The city said, "We're gonna have to pay for the band show and they'll pay for the park." We invited Elizabeth Levitt Hirsch to come visit us because we wanted to show her the site and see what she thought about it.
So as we worked in the downtown area for creating the Levitt Pavilion, there were a number of things that had to happen. There were some land swaps that were worked between the city and First Baptist Church.
In the very beginning, we put together what we called a steering committee. That informal group was kind of what got the community going. So I went and I knocked on Cliff's door and I said, "Cliff, I need you to be the chair for this steering committee that we're going to create, this task force to do the Levitt." He goes, "I'm not doing it. You got to get me a co-chair." I said, "Okay, I will. Who do you want?" He said, "Kristen Vandergriff."
It was just a great team. The capital campaign was a $1.2 million.
Just getting the right people together, that was kind of our goal. It really turned out that wasn't really an issue. I'd been talking to Janie Alexander for probably 10 years about trying to do a music venue in Arlington. It just sounded really great to me. It was an amazing ride.
Lots of people just stepped up. It was a wonderful journey, and we're just proud to be a part of it.
The volunteer board of directors working with me and Renee, I ran that capital campaign. If I remember, we raised almost $1 million in like 8 or 10 months. Every lamppost was paid for by a local family. Every bench, every art piece. So there's a lot of ownership that was created in the process. Arlington Tomorrow Foundation is what has really helped it be sustainable.
A $75,000 grant was made by the foundation to the Levitt. That was the largest gift the Arlington Tomorrow Foundation had given, and the most significant. We've contributed 14 different grants to support the great work of the Levitt. over $1 million worth of donations.
So I remember the first night that the Levitt was open, and it was a great crowd. It was a beautiful night. People from all over the community that wanted to come out and see what this Levitt Pavilion thing was. A local band that was very engaging, Brave Combo, as I recall. It just really created this special place that people could say, okay, I get it now. I understand what this is. I didn't before, but now I do.
The community collaboration and the excitement was unparalleled. People came out with their picnic blankets and kids were running around, and people just love it. We all love it. We love the Levitt. Not only was the Levitt, amazing, but it did transform this downtown area.
We started the Levitt, and all these people started coming down to these free concerts, and that made our city become a gathering place.
It turned Arlington downtown to back what Janie remembered back in her youth, because it's a happening place today.
Levitt coming out of the ground, it showed something different could happen here. It helped push City Hall to expand and revitalize. We've got a new library. You have a community presence. Abrams Street around here has jumped alive with places to eat. I see efforts from 25 years ago putting the seeds in the ground and sprouting out, and it's exciting to see.
Johnny High had the Arlington Music Hall, but at the time it was called Johnny High's Country View. I think Johnny got a vision about what the music hall could be. And he brought in a development friend, Bert Collins.
It refreshed the theater with kind of the lighting and fixed the marquee that's out on Center Street now to where it's vibrant and working again with the neon lights. It retrofitted the area, which let us bring Babe's Chicken in, and it also created another pad site to the south where we were able to put in the Mellow Mushroom Pizza Bakery. But one of the first projects that really started to get some activity in the downtown area was the restoration of the old Vandergrift building, taking the old boards off one of the old historic buildings in the city and re-energize it with office space throughout, and get a historic marker and all those kinds of great things. The Levitt Pavilion and the Founders Park that was put in here became, to me, the bullseye of what's right in the middle of everything else. It's connecting out in all the different directions. It's right here at Abram and Center. We redid Center Street as far as a new blacktop and had a nice wide sidewalk in that whole north-south artery. We also made, in more recent times, a much more substantial Great Street investment in the redevelopment of Abrams Street. It put in wider sidewalks, more landscaping, better street lighting, slower traffic coming through the area to make it safer for pedestrians.
Private investors are building more quality housing in downtown along Abrams Street for people that want to live in the downtown area, live next to a university, live next to entertainment.
Our first project in downtown Arlington was called Block 300. We started that in around 2010, and we essentially bought the 300 block, or most of it, of Abrams Street. And we reached out to various restaurateurs. We started picking up Momentum, Flying Fish open, Twisted Root open, Hooligans Pub open. Connectivity's big in placemaking. You want to be able to walk down a nice, well-lit sidewalk from one area to another. And with the Abrams Street revitalization and with what's happening along Front Street and Mesquite and Center, the connectivity has gotten tremendously better over the last 10 years. There's no question the Levitt's been just a major boost for downtown. It's probably the one project you could point to that really started a lot of the current urban development, urban movement down here.
Welcome everybody downtown.
Each Levitt season, we would see 80,000+ people show up for those 50 concerts. And it became very evident to us that we needed facilities for folks to be able to use the restrooms. And that morphed into, from a $1.5 million restroom facility to a 2-story hospitality center with the restrooms on the bottom and this open area on the top for our community to use.
The Levitt Center has not only changed the landscape of the Levitt and what we do from a concert perspective, but what it did for the city and for downtown is now that there is a place where we can do even bigger things than before. So when we talk second generation, festivals, we can host retirement parties, fundraising events, and then last year we started cultural events within our mission.
This is us. This is we right here in Arlington, And we proudly bring in people from all around, all over the country to come and experience what we have right here, that this is our grassroots entertainment district.
Everyone feels like downtown Arlington is their space. They can find a little bit of everything here, and it's just getting better and better all the time.
Today, as we sit here 15 years later, the Levitt Pavilion's been a resounding success, and we're so thankful to the Levitt Foundation for believing in us. And I get a lot of pride and satisfaction out of listening to people like Tom Cravens, who I know has worked on this forever and ever, to actually say, I see it happening.
I feel proud because I figure that in a small way I contributed to building this thing. I and lots of other people that we've mentioned today, including my buddy over here, Jane Alexander. And
Patty Dew brought a lot to the table as well. She was our executive director for many, many years.
We were very lucky to have come at the right time with the right big idea, got the right people behind it, and the rest is history.